everyone, Pia here again from Dig Mandarin, and today I'll be talking about Pinyin, which is the Chinese pronunciation system. So real talk, I feel like a lot of people get very intimidated about the tones or the pronunciation in Mandarin. And I feel like even if you've been learning Chinese or you have some background as a foreign learner of the language, that the tones and pronunciation, it still confuses you, or there's some things that you need to improve on, or there's some like tones that you don't quite get. As difficult and as complicated it may seem, it is like the basic and one of the fundamental things that you have to take note of. So this video is all about like the introduction to Pinyin, what it is, and like how you can improve your tones by just like listening closely to the different sounds. So let's begin. Okay, so what exactly is Pinyin? As I mentioned before, Pinyin is a Chinese pronunciation system. So Chinese isn't a phonetic language. You can't really read out the characters how you would read out letters in other languages. So the words and characters don't necessarily correspond to certain pronunciations. Pinyin transcribes these characters into sounds so that people can read them. It's also a way for lots of people to input the sounds, as you would say them, into characters on like your computers or your phones. All right, let's get into some of the details. First, let's start with syllables. So one Chinese sound corresponds to one syllable, and every character has its own syllable in Pinyin. All right, and every Pinyin syllable has three parts. You have the initial, the final, and the tone. In Chinese, there are 21 Pinyin initials, which are consonants usually, and 35 Pinyin finals, which are vowels and vowel combinations. Second, we have tone, which I feel like has intimidated a lot of people because it sounds very complex. You know, when you hear, oh, there are 5 tones in Chinese. So for learners of Chinese, especially for a beginner, or even if you've been learning it for a while, it can seem intimidating. But when you break it down and really practice, it's not that difficult. So because Chinese is a tonal language, every pronunciation matters. A difference in pronunciation can also mean a difference in the meaning of the word. All those 5 bas were different. I mean, they kind of sound the same if you're new to it. But for people like Chinese people and people who can understand Mandarin, those are all different. All of those bas, those 5 bas, correspond to different characters, and all those different characters have different meanings. So it's up to you to really listen and make sure that you're saying the right characters or the right tones at any specific time, because you don't want to mess that up. Okay, so here we have a little helpful diagram to just illustrate the tones. There are 5 technically. Actually, it's 4 and then 1 neutral sound, and I'll explain that further. Okay, so let's start. Let's use the same example, ba, ba. Let's start with first tone. So first tone is like high pitched. It's just straight. It goes like ba. In the image, you'll see like it's just one straight line. You're not changing your pitch at all. You're not trying to also sing. A lot of people say that you try to sing. Not really. It's like a little prolonged, high pitched. It's just slight level. So like ba, 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 ba. And it works for all the other syllables too. So ma, ba, ta. And you'll just learn more as you go along. So let's move on to second tone. So second tone is, or as I would like to call it, like the question mark tone. It's a rising tone. So you go from somewhere in the middle or a lower register to the higher pitch sound of the first tone. So ma or ba. And I remember when I was first learning my tones for Pinyin, my teacher, my 老师, she was like, okay, just imagine a question mark at the end of your syllables. That way you can really capture the second tone. Let's do that again. Ba, 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 ba. So it's like a little rise to that. You're just going from a middle to a higher sound. So the first one again, ba, and now second tone, ba, ba, ba. Okay, and then third tone. I feel like really confuses a lot of people, especially when they like say it right after second tone or trying to think of second tone and third tone at the same time, because they're both kind of like from a lower to a higher sound. But in third tone, you just have to remember that it first falls and then goes up. So the thing is, when it goes up on that like second part, it's not really all the way up as you do in second tone. So I'll say it off first. So if first tone is ba, second tone is ba, third tone is ba, ba, ba. So I'll just use other syllables. Ma, ta, sure. Is just, it's like a lower, like, did you hear, like, it's kind of like guttural. There's like a lower sound to that. And that's what third tone is. Ba, ba, ba. I hope you heard that. If you can't really hear it right now, hopefully you will in the future. And then last but not the least of at least the sound tones is fourth tone. So fourth tone is a falling tone. It's literally just like a drop. A falling tone which starts out really strong and then it goes down. So in ba, it's ba, ba. There's a little bit of like abruptness, kind of angry, I guess, but don't always try to say it that way, I guess. It just helps when you're trying to learn it at first. So let's do all four before we move on to the neutral tone. So first tone, ba. Second tone, ba. Third tone, ba. Fourth tone, ba. Ba, 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 ba. And then last but not the least is neutral tone. So neutral tone is very light, very quick. Neutral tone is sometimes this syllable would be squished in between two characters or at the end of a character. So it's like in ba, it's like ba, 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 ba. It's just like quick. It's just a little bit of a whisper, but you know it's still there. So ba. That's it. You made it to the end of the video in our short introduction into Pinyin. So honestly, with enough practice, you'll really be able to survive your language learning of Chinese, especially if you keep on listening and just voicing out the syllables as you go along. So even if the beginning is tedious and it's just repetitive and you feel like, you've got it down pat, just know that with enough practice, as long as you keep on going, you'll be able to master these Pinyin syllables very well. And take note that it's always a two-part thing. You're listening and you're speaking at the same time. And you don't want to just keep on speaking and speaking and speaking. And it turns out you've been saying the wrong syllables this whole time. Like your tones are off, or the way you've been pronouncing your initials and finals are off. And that's why pronunciation really, really matters. So yeah, that's about it. We done it. So that was just a very quick introduction into Pinyin, and I'm sure you guys have more questions and more stuff that you want to know. So for more information and to check out like tips and tricks to learning Mandarin, obviously check out Dig Mandarin. That's it for me. See you guys next time. 再见，加油！